Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in the arena, it's our last day of Ravnica Allegiance Standard. Yeah, I know, rotation is coming, and as always, we look forward to the new cards and we get very excited about them, but I also like to look back at the cards and the decks that I most enjoyed. And while my favorite deck from the past few years, Jeskai Control, hasn't really served me too well around the Ravnica Allegiance Standard, it's probably fallen down to about a tier 3 deck at this point. It's the deck I most want to play before rotation and things change significantly. So this is my Jeskai Control deck. It has a Demystify. It has 3 Banefires to help win control mirrors. Cards like Thought Erasure mean that black is superbly advantaged when I play Esper versus Jeskai, but Banefire can tip the scales back over, removing the opponent's Teferis, which are often their only win cons. Then we also have Revitalize for the red decks, 1 of Negate, 1 Demystify. Just think about the top 4 decks. Esper, get rid of Search for Azcanta. Red, get rid of Experimental Frenzy. Blue, get rid of Curious Obsession. White, get rid of Legion's Landing, History of Benalia, and Conclave Tribunal. So yep, how about 1 Demystify? Also because Ixalan's Binding can be a total backbreaker if they land it too perfectly. And then we also have some Absorbs and Clarions, Settles because nobody plays around it anymore, 1 Cleansing Nova, 3 Expansion Explosion, all the Insights, all the Teferis. It may disappoint some of you to hear that your boy CGB, who makes videos with enraging dinosaurs and all kinds of other janky shenanigans, is actually, in his heart, if he's playing nothing else, he would play a Teferi deck. It's true, I'm a control mage, have been for a long time. The first competitive deck I really fell in love with was a blue-white control deck from very, very, very long ago. And you can link back to my free-to-play series at the start of Ravnica Allegiance Standard, and I taught people how to play Mono Red. I've probably made it clear in videos and streams since then that Mono Red is not my favorite deck. I don't particularly enjoy it. I particularly despise losing to it, as many of you surely despise Teferi. But before you spam the comments and hit that dislike button and call Teferi things like cancer, you're totally entitled to your opinion, and games are kind of designed to get you emotionally riled up. So he's the villain to many of you, I understand that. But hopefully you don't have to take it out on the player. If all of the people who only like red decks just congregate in one corner and just like red decks, and all of the people who like Teferi just congregate on the other side and only like Teferi, then all they're going to do is talk about how the people on the other side are the real problem. And if we got rid of them all, wouldn't we all have so much more fun? And then what do? Over time, they convince themselves that it's true, they build armies, they attack each other, whether on social media or in some grander scheme things in the world, in real life, and they try to wipe out what they perceive to be the problem. But really it isn't a problem. It's people who don't agree on something, but we still play the same game, and it's a great game. And maybe if you can hang out on this channel and you can find out either through comments or hanging out with me on Twitch or things like that, that we can get along too. That's a little preachy and a little over the top, but I mean for this channel to be for everyone, whether you like red decks, Teferi decks, jank decks, spike decks, or everything in the middle. I love that games can bring different people together instead of keeping them apart, blaming each other for their problems. So, with that rosy forecast and this hopefully delightful and somewhat bittersweet goodbye to Ravnica Allegiance Standard, a format I'll always remember, let's go play some games with my Jeskai Explosion control deck. I'll keep this on the strength of Azcanta and Chemister's Insight. I'm sure we'll find a white source. I'm sure we will. Our opponent's forcing Bant, so I'm sure everything's fine against their Bant deck. Of course, if they're not playing Bant, I'll be strongly, strongly tilted. What? What? Premiums with no sleeves. I mean, I guess I'm doing the same thing. Turn 1 Duress. Well, that's good against your Azcanta, isn't it? Cool, dude. I could have played this, then I'd have Revitalize available. Oops. I guess I got tilted by the duress. Turn 2 Dawn of Hope. I can see where this is going. I can see what's happening. And they don't have a clue. They'll Dawn of Hope, and here's the bottom line. My removal options are few. Somebody recently commented that I'm corny. Yes, but I'm your corny. I guess. I'll Revitalize. There's probably some card I can draw here that I don't care about. Actually, no. I like all these cards. I don't really want to discard them. But I guess I'll get rid of the land. Alright, Teferi, you're gonna have to save me from these tokens. Give me the insight that I need. Our opponent already showed us a Plague Crafter, which is a bit unnerving. And I could wait another turn to have Teferi and Absorb. The problem is this token. So I could also shock myself and expansion the token and draw a card. Or I could just Chemister's Insight and not worry too much about them, let the opponent hit me once, draw a card. That's not exactly great. And I do have another Chemister's Insight, so yeah, we'll just Insight again, take a little bit longer, try to get Teferi with some protection. Memorial to Folly. So it is more of a creature-based deck with Dawn of Hope. Alright. Or maybe they just want Plague Crafters back. Who knows? It's the arena. You can do whatever you want to do. Be who you want to be. So now the opponent isn't in a position to make another token on end step, which can make the Clarion better. Revitalize. Okay. More cards. There's a negate. Let's go with Teferi and Absorb. We don't Teferi minus here because the token can just attack back and kill the Teferi. Yeah, since the negate is cheaper, I like to keep the negate available for future turns because it will be easier to hold up. Plus, a negate can't counter a Plague Crafter, which we already saw. Which is a good reason to make sure we have Absorb open. Uh-huh. Enough. Our opponent can pay 2 for the card. Uh-huh. And 4 mana. What's it gonna be? A Seraph of the Scales. It's a pretty obnoxious card. Is it worth an Absorb, though? We could Clarion it away, and then the opponent would have 2 tokens. Then we can Clarion the next wave as well. It makes use of our Clarion, and it keeps our Absorb in hand. If we spend 3 mana there, yeah, I think this is fine. Our Teferi will be under a little bit of pressure, but I don't mind defending it for a little while. These are boys, Teferi. We could Clarion again now. Maybe that's just smarter than letting Teferi take damage. It will put the opponent on a shorter clock, and we untap our 2 lands so that we still have Absorb. God, that 2 mana bonus from Teferi is pretty absurd. I don't know. It's funny, it took me this long in the format to just out and say that, but it's true. Just adding up if I can Expansion Explosion this, and I can, but I think it's just safer to counter it now. Because then I wouldn't have my negate up the next turn. There's the Demystify. Hello. There's an emote for that, right? Only give myself a hello. All right, let's get that gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So untap 2. Yep. And it looks like we're taking over this time. Our opponent really doesn't like red decks, and I can't say that I blame them, but this isn't the matchup that they were looking for. Let's go ahead and draw 2 with the Insight. And we don't find another counter, but we find our 4th Chemister's Insight. Chemister's Insight, key card, because we have so many cards that are bad in some matchups and good in others.
Keep up the pace.
So we can end step, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then untap 2. Can still hold up negate, but not the absorb. So I think we're better off using a settle the wreckage here than trying to expansion explosion away the Lyra. Absorb because of Plaguecrafter. Still the plan. Makes me wonder why our opponent played that. And they do have a Memorial to Folly to get it back. Settle your wreckage. And the scoops. All right, they're not going to go for the Plaguecrafter. All right, 4 mana, a Revitalize. We don't have a Sweeper. Without a Sweeper, this hand might get run over by some aggro decks, but I think that it is still a keep regardless. Is this more Temur Reclamation? I've never played that deck twice in one day. Well, at least not in constructed events. I've definitely seen it on the ladder more than once, but man, that's a tough pull. Tough pull for CGB, but they're having land issues. Maybe they'll continue to have land issues. They have an opt. They bottom. Can they get there? Looks like they got there. Wow, more Deafening Clarions. Would have been so good against a certain kind of deck, but not this deck. Can they keep the land drops coming? No, they cannot. All right, here we go. We made it to Chemister's Insight time. I'll go for this. The opponent may choose to sabotage it. No, they don't. So they don't have Sinister Sabotage either. So there was a case for not playing it because they might have a Sinister Sabotage to help them dig for land, but I chose to do it anyway. No regrets, it worked out. Alright, drop these Clarions into the bin. Another Growth Spiral. So because our opponent has Expansion Explosion in their deck, they might choose to Expansion Explode our Chemister's Insight. So I'm going to use it now. I'm going to try to hold Settle the Wreckage in my hand over Deafening Clarion because it holds priority, which can make the opponent think we have a counterspell. Okay, it looks like it's Teferi time. And the opponent is very sadly land screwed.
I'm not done yet.
Which is probably, you know, I say sadly, but it is probably our best hope in the entire match. Let's play this land untapped to bluff counter magic. And let's discard, well, now the discard is the Settle the Wreckage, so we've got plenty of other ways to bluff a counterspell right now. Growth Spiral, I could copy it, but I don't think that's really what I'm looking to copy. I'm looking to win counter wars. We'll go for this Revitalize, which the opponent may copy. No, it doesn't seem like they have an Expansion Explosion yet, which leaves me wondering what their hand is. A bunch of Niv Mizzet, a bunch of Wilderness Reclamation, those things make sense. We could main phase this. We're going to get 2 mana back anyway, we may as well use it. There is something to be said about an opponent having Expansion Explosion, but they haven't yet, so not gonna quite play around it. Untap these. Now we have to discard 2 cards. Let's say goodbye to some of these pain lands. We certainly found enough land. We've got land drops for days. There's the Reclamation. It's time for Demystify to earn its keep. And we'll keep the cards coming with the Insight. Can we find some counters? Not yet. Not yet. It's getting very scary in here.
Let's skip to the good part.
I could expansion my opponent for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, they're going to scoop. I was considering drawing 4 cards and trying to find more counters, trying to find a counterspell. But looks like the opponent, and I don't blame them. That was surely a frustrating game for them. Well, we're on the play with the all-tap land opening. Let's give it a try. We'll need it to go a certain way. We're going to need to top deck some lands that let these enter untapped eventually. With the Clarions, though, I feel a little better. Hey, there we go. I could pay this 2 life to cast the Revitalize now, but I don't know if my life total is going to matter. I am in best of 1, so this isn't a Nexus deck. Is it? Does the opponent know Nexus got banned? Interesting. Let's see what's going on. Maybe it's a Bant Wilderness Reclamation deck. I've seen that deck around. It'd be nice to find my Demystify before this flips. That might be asking a lot for 1 of in the deck. And it looks like we're probably against Temur Reclamation, which is a really bad matchup for us. And especially with 2 Clarions and a Banefire in hand, our hand is particularly horrible at this time. I will pay to the life, why not? I can use the Revitalize to draw a card, and I may draw into a Negate or another Revitalize. Search for his Kanta. Check your top card. What's it gonna be? There's 1 card, now 2 cards in the graveyard. Throwing that Shivan Fire is definitely good for our opponent. And do they just go for it? Yes, they do. This may be a complete bloodbath. Oh! Hello. I'm very tempted to hit the hello emote. That's how excited I am about that. And all of a sudden, after a couple of draws, maybe I'm in the game, although I'd still say in the matchup I'm strongly disadvantaged. Our opponent may have another Reclamation. They did play that one rather cavalier-like. They keep on top. It better be something like that. I don't know what else I'd keep. Maybe they're stocking up counter spells for the winter. I don't know. I'll probably want to burn these Clarions on my turn, or at least one of them. I can still bluff a counter spell, but I may want to burn a Clarion just to fill the graveyard, since I don't think they're going to do anything else in this matchup except let Niv draw some cards. The opponent is tanking. I think they have another Reclamation, and they're deciding how brave they are. Not that brave. So, what are we doing here? The opponent has stopped me on the upkeep. What card could they have? Blink of an Eye, perhaps? If I had a Blink of an Eye, I'd save it to protect my own as Concha from a removal of some form, although there aren't many popular ones to play around. And the opponent is in... Geez, they're full tank on this. I'm trying to decide what that means. It feels like it needs to be a Blink of an Eye. I don't know what else they could possibly be thinking this hard over at this stage in the game. Maybe they disconnected. Usually when and how much an opponent thinks can be a tell for what kind of things they have going on. In this case, I'm honestly not sure, but I'll keep that. Now, am I willing to play this card? I don't think my situation gets better, to be honest. Eventually the opponent will call me on this, on having this, and either they have a counter now or they don't. If they don't, then maybe we can start getting ahead, and if they do, maybe it all falls apart. What it will be will eventually be a memory of a time I tried so hard. God, their timer almost went to 0 on that too. Now I am starting to think, though, that they're trolling me. Because look, they're still running it when I'm completely tapped out and they're completely tapped out. Uh-huh. Well, they can't play Niv with that mana, and they don't have another Reclamation because they didn't play it right there. Oh, okay. The game really wants me to be... The game really wants me in this. How good is the opponent? Do they have another one? Chemist's Insight. They have an expansion explosion. That's what this hesitation is. That or they are on full control at all times. So I could minus and get rid of the Iskanta. Then an expansion explosion takes the Teferi out way too easily for my taste. If I let the opponent transform it though, that's a huge problem too. Let's have a look. 3. Yeah, we're still quite a ways from transforming our own Iskanta. I feel like I just have to draw and draw into counter spells. And let the opponent, well, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, flip 5. They can explosion away the Teferi anyway. I may as well take out the Iskanta because they can flip this, play a land, and expansion explosion Teferi. Very sad. Yeah, I think our opponent's just spamming full control. Alright, you've got Niv. Graveyard this. That's pretty fortunate. With the cards they have left, I think I'm pretty safe.
No time for a break.
Because I can just Banefire away the Niv. And they can't turn around and kill the Teferi just yet. I have to deal with the Iskanta again, which is scary. Maybe they'll give me something to expansion. It looks like my opponent's going to go for their own expansion explosion here to kill the Teferi, which makes sense, but then we can flip our Iskanta at least. 1 Niv down. If they play this expansion explosion, they'll have 3 expansion explosions and 2 Nivs in the typical Temur reclamation pile that we still have to navigate. Banefire can take out 1 Niv. But of course, the bigger the mana gets, the more dangerous that becomes. Weird. Are we going for Niv again? Is that the plan? Oh, they're leaving up a counter spell. They're doing this and leaving a counter open. Okay.
You just let me know if you're up for round 2.
And then they go for his Iskanta with 1 more mana open. That can go to the graveyard. Transform. And now in the Iskanta standoff, our opponent is usually going to win. So I'm going to try Iskanta-ing now. Maybe I can find that Demystify. Maybe not. That was disheartening. Yeah, that's a key set piece, and our opponent will have a big mana and card draw advantage. Although, oddly, we still haven't found our Chemist's Insights to keep our cards flowing. Instead, we found all the Deafening Clarions. My goodness. Though this game could take the entire video if I let it. I'm very tempted to scoop just to get out of it because, well, I'm not mad at our opponent for the amount of time they're taking. I'm not even mad. It's just the amount of time it's going to take in this particular video is so insane that I don't want to play it. So, no thank you. But really, every turn, manual taps, full control mode, all game, in a matchup I probably can't win anyway. Let's go get a different game. I like this hand. Hopefully we're against red or white, some kind of a creature deck. No, it's Godless Shrine. Looks like everybody brought their control and anti-control decks today, which is different. I got really used to this being a lot of mono red. This format, I mean. And when you play 2 very different decks in a row, you start to wonder just how bad your read was. But it's okay. May I has this revitalized? Thank you. Alright. Well, I like holding up the negate, but also making it look like I don't have an absorb available. Normally I'd pay 2 life to bluff, but when I have a negate, I like to not pay 2 life and make the opponent think they can resolve something. You might get them to make a play that they wouldn't normally play. Not in this case, though. Let's try out an Iskanta. If the opponent counters it, I will let them counter it. I don't actually plan to use the negate there. I want them to go for a Teferi here. I want them to tap out for a Teferi. They will not. Okay. So will I tap out for a Teferi? Make them have another absorb. Make them have 2 of them. They might also have a Vraska's Contempt, which would be frustrating, and they do.
That didn't go according to plan.
But I get a 2 for 1. I get another card. And hopefully we get our opponent to go for a Teferi now. Sitting back against the Esper deck is usually pretty hard because of Vraska... Not because of Vraska's Contempt, what am I saying? Because of Thought Erasure. Trying to build up a really good hand. Thought Erasure picks a hole in it at just the wrong times most of the time. Ouch. So we've drawn the wrong cards. We needed our Chemist's Insights. We needed our Expansion Explosions. We drew this other stuff. It happens. Let's try another Teferi. Like I said, holding it in the hand is usually not a recipe for success.
This isn't a fight you can win.
Opponent loaded with relevant cards. Let's go for the negate. Jeez, oh Pete's. Okay. Yeah, they have a much better hand than we do.
I suppose that's how it was meant to happen.
And they kept on top. They're probably drawing their own Teferi now. Alright. Chemist's Insight off the top. Alright. Well, at least the Insight is a hard card to erase. And that's probably what the opponent kept on top since they didn't play it last turn. Which means the rest of their hand... I mean, how good could it be? It's probably not more counter spells. But who knows? Who the heck knows? I probably should have paid the 2 life for that. I could draw another Chemist's Insight off this Chemist's Insight. Okay. Got some Teferi solutions here. That's mainly what they are. It's really hard to go face. You end up often decking the opponent and killing their Teferis with your Banefires. Oh yeah, the staring match continues. Okay, now I've got a counterspell. The world is changing right before our eyes. We also have 3 Expansion Explosions, which can also help deck the opponent when we run them out of cards. So I don't think we're necessarily unfavored in these matchups. Let's go for the Absorb. Okay, that resolved easily. If the opponent wanted to fight the Counter War to get the Teferi into play, that's also really good, because then the Banefire becomes uncounterable. I'm going to main phase this. Keep hitting land drops if I'm going to draw them. And we'll pay the life because we might draw a Chemist's Insight into another Chemist's Insight on end step. We'll drop off Clarion, Settle, doesn't matter. Probably doesn't matter which of these. They're probably completely dead in the matchup and there's nothing we can do about it. Alright, keep it coming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we can Banefire for 12, Banefire for 12. No, not yet. Still waiting a little bit longer for that. About 13 and 13. It's really close to good. But if the opponent has another Absorb, then that keeps them alive. I guess, though, if I Banefire now, then a land off the top is a lethal Banefire. How many Absorbs has our opponent played? Only 1. I'm going to keep waiting. We do have to worry about Thought Erasure, so there is sort of a ticking clock there. It also can draw out our opponent's Absorb. Let's try it out. Pew! Okay, that resolved really easily. The opponent needs to gain life here. Or have a thought erasure. They didn't have it. And is that game? That's game. You're really unimpressed? You shouldn't be unimpressed. Just Bane fired away 27 life. The demystifying the opener is always a little bit scary, because there are definitely decks where this does nothing. But with a Clarion and an Absorb around it, we sort of have most of our bases covered, so I'm going to keep it. And we'll see if Demystify gets a time to shine. We can lead on the island because it brings out the Fortress and the Sulphur Falls untapped, and lets us play Absorb on turn 3. The opponent will mull to 6. See if they get a keepable hand here. They're thinking about it a lot. When in doubt, buzz the tower. They have kept. The game is afoot. All for a mountain. I see, I see. All right, let's get Revitalize online. Let's hope that they're the type of red deck that also plays with Experimental Frenzy. All right. Gain some life. Draw that card. I like getting the Azcanta down here and encouraging the opponent to play more creatures. The sad part is if they try to light up the stage. So, in that case, I'm going to take my time a little bit longer. But if they try to play a creature, the plan is to Clarion them, not to absorb it. Most red players can't resist lighting up the stage here. Let's see if this red player is any different. Alrighty. Bang. Now we'll see if they have another one. They often do. Oh, okay. Just a good old skewering. Got it. Let's deploy the Search for Azcanta and the Hallowed Fountain tapped. The opponent will probably wonder what could possibly hold priority right now. It's like he's spamming full control, obviously. They're probably just thinking about opt. Okay. The opponent might just play around sweepers with Endless Burn. Third, Skewer the Critics. Yep. Classic red. Let's graveyard that. Expansion, Explosion. Oh, they think this is nice. That's good. Glad they're having fun. Well, actually, I should have played this tapped. My plan was to Expansion, Explosion this, but I actually don't have the red source. So I need to copy a burn spell out of my opponent. So I think I will go for the Clarion. Just get it done. Get this in the graveyard. Get that off the battlefield. Stop the creature damage. Stopping the creature damage is so important against red. And the opponent just straight lightning strikes me. Yeah. Can we find more absorbs? That could be my red source for Expansion Explosion, but I really don't want it. I'm going to have faith I can draw it a different way. But right now, my faith is not being rewarded. The Demystify is costing me big time. Okay. Okay. Steamkin is probably a good target. Settle. I'm going to graveyard that. I do need to draw more absorbs. 6 cards. This could be the 7th. Or I could Demystify my own Azcanta and play another. But I have a feeling that I'm going to get to use this expansion this turn when the opponent points something at my face, and I can respond by trying to kill their Steamkin. No, I'm wrong. That is not what's going to happen this turn. The opponent slow rolls double Steamkin on me. And this game is falling apart quickly for me. I mean, it solves both Steamkins. It also solves my opponent's mana issues. Alright, I guess I have to do it. Very curious if the opponent will attack me here with both. I go for the Pyro, which is a really good one. I can't do anything about that. It's so... Man, their draw has lined up so well with mine. I feel like I've made mistakes, but what can you do? Alright, hit him up, settle. We need to find Absorb here. We're going to get to flip the Azcanta, and we still need to find a way to kill this Pyromancer. But we fixed our opponent's mana issues. We know they have 3 spells in hand. This feels like it's unwinnable. We need a perfect draw. I mean, it kills the Pyromancer, but that's not good enough. We needed this last turn. We need a way to, like, kill the Pyromancer and find an Absorb. It's probably unrealistic, so I just have to hope that my opponent has more creatures. Alright. And not the right burn spells. Or Experimental Frenzy. Hope they have Experimental Frenzy. Okay. That's not the worst unless they have their last Skewer the Critics. Please, Absorbs. Okay, there's an Absorb. Now we need to kill the Chain Whirler. Oh, man. Like, what could I get to kill the Chain Whirler? I guess I need the opponent to go for a spell. If they just attack me, I can go find Settle the Wreckage. What else? Revitalize? Man, it's awkward, but I could absorb my own thing. And then I have 3 mana open for another Absorb. Is that the play? I think I'm better off using Azcanta to try to answer this. But the problem is, I'm not going to find the right thing. I'm going to go for the flashy play. Oh, I forgot to put on full control. Oops. All right. Let's go for full control. Man, I'm a bad Magic player. Submit. Absorb it. Yes. Submit. And if the opponent responds with a burn spell, I can copy the burn spell. No, I can copy the absorb and target the burn spell. Risk factor. Okay. Expansion targets absorb. Submit. Resolve. Absorb targets risk factor. Resolve. Resolve again. Look at that Demystify doing work. Firebrand. All right. What do we got? 11. Graveyard. Decline. Draw, revitalize. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I think we just main phase this and see if we draw another land so that we can absorb and Azcanta. Or we Azcanta and see if we can hit Deafening Clarion now. God, this game is tough. Yep, I'm going to try to hit the Clarion now. Another Revitalize. Let's see if we can hit a land so that this absorb works. That would be nice. Nope. Let's try again. We want to hit our land drop this turn if we can, and we can't. Oof. Oof. God, this game's hard. All right, this game's so hard. Keep in mind, though, we got GG'd. We got so GG'd. Wizards lightning me to 5, with still a risk factor in hand. Alright, so with this on the stack, I'm wondering if I want to do the double as Kanta. I don't think so. Not this turn. Let's graveyard that. Decline. Land. Let's go main. So what's better? I still think it's better to hit a Clarion than to hit a Teferi. So I'm going to keep trying to do it. Oh my god, all the Banefire. The opponent's impressed. But I'm probably dead now. What a weird set of cards to hit. That was probably the wrong play, but we'll see. The opponent's definitely going to get 3 cards. If they're good enough, they'll win the game. All right, 1 more point of damage. Can they do it? Flame of Keld. They can't do it this turn. All right. Yeah, it didn't give me the chance. I was trying very hard there to get the stop. This isn't good enough, I don't think, so we'll graveyard it. And decline, because I didn't get to add the mana from my other Iskanta first. Jesus. Our draw couldn't be more weird. So what do? Do I try to top deck the Clarion? We've been trying for a minute. It hasn't worked out for us. Yeah, I have to get rid of the threats on the board or I'll lose to those. Settle the wreckage. Okay, well, now I just hope that they brick on this draw. Like that they have to draw all things that don't damage me. Probably unlikely. I believed in the heart of the cards, but it didn't quite get there for me. There's still 2 Revitalizes and 2 Clarions. Okay, 1 Revitalize and 2 Clarions hiding out in the deck that we couldn't find. Instead, all 3 Banefires were in a row, and then all 3 Teferis were in a row. And the opponent hasn't just killed me yet. It feels like they should be able to. They're not attacking. Because all they have to do is untap with this. Alright. Graveyard. Decline. Draw. Another tap land. Alright. Here's Teferi. Let's get rid of the Flame of Keld.
Excellent timing.
Because if it goes off, the Firebrand is lethal. We could also get rid of the Firebrand. The opponent could knock us to 1. I guess that's my best hope. But then if that goes off and this hits, that's lethal, so I have to play this. What's the best thing to get rid of? I guess every burn spell's lethal, except for exclusively Fanatical Firebrand. So it's best to go after the Firebrand here. I'm still dead to the combination of burn spell and attack, so it is what it is. Opponent lets that happen. Okay. All that they need is a creature and a burn spell together on this turn, and they've got it. All right. Ooh. So now the lava runner takes me to 1. And they're going after the Teferi. Oh my god, we have a chance in this game. Again, I'm like, should I be using this as Kanta for life gain? I think I'm better off just playing the Teferi. The opponent says good game.
No time for a break.
What do they mean? They GG'd me earlier. What do they mean? To add to the suspense, I have a very important phone call in 3 minutes. Just to really add to the suspense, I have to tilt this person off and make them concede before then. They know about the settle. And they're coming in. Alright, settle you. Because if they shuffle, they lose the firebrand on top. And they're going to, it looks like. Yep. Graveyard that. Decline. Keep it coming. Now this is where I probably double his Kanta to get an absorb in my hand. An absorb or negate's fine. Yep, it's all fine. They're at 31 cards still, and they do scoop it up. What a game! That absorbing my own demystify and expanding it, coming full circle. I got really lucky, but goodness gracious. I think we're going to have to leave the video there. I did not expect that game to take that long, and like I said, I have an important phone call in 2 minutes. Please come out to the War of the Spark pre-release event on Twitch and stay tuned to my YouTube channel because I'll post some content from it here. It goes on from April 23rd at 7 a.m. Pacific time to April 24th, 7 a.m. Pacific time. So come see me get to play with a bunch of other streamers and be the first ones to show off War of the Spark on Magic Arena. Let's see what those animations look like. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment. You can also support the channel on Patreon for special perks. Links are in the description. Our sponsors are HauntedFlower.com and FlipsideGaming.com. Haunted Flower sells officially licensed MTG apparel and accessories, and Flipside Gaming sells MTG cards and supplies. You can save 10% on either site with the promo code CGB, and it supports the channel at the same time. See you next time for another day in the arena. For now, it's me, it's CGB, signing out.